Think about how many incredible games were buried simply because they were released at the wrong time. That's the true beauty of retro gaming, uncovering hidden gems that still outperform modern titles. Today we're dusting off the archives to bring you 10 forgotten classics you probably never heard of, but absolutely cannot miss. Kicking things off at number 1, we have Punky Skunk, a game so aggressively 90s it practically screams dial-up internet and neon windbreakers. Developed by Jaleco for the original PlayStation, you play as a punk rock skunk fighting an evil corporate wolf who's polluting your home island. Now, at first glance, it looks like just another generic mascot platformer trying to ride the wave of Sonic or Crash Bandicoot, but once you actually play it, Punky Skunk introduces some incredibly wild mechanics. Aside from blasting enemies with a short-range sting spray, the real highlight is the extreme sports gear. The game throws you into levels using parachutes to catch wind currents, roller skates for high-speed auto-scrolling, a pogo stick, a jetpack, and even a snowboard that makes you temporarily invincible. But don't let the cute cartoon art style fool you. This game gets brutally difficult. Later stages flood the screen with enemies and demand pixel-perfect platforming with your gadgets. And the boss fights? Absolutely bizarre. At one point, you're forced into a random game of volleyball where losing a single point instantly kills you. It's messy, it's frustrating, and it definitely feels a bit unfinished, but its pure, unadulterated 90s charm makes it a forgotten retro experience you absolutely need to try. Replicating a 16-bit masterpiece onto weaker handheld hardware is a massive challenge, but the portable version of Ristar defied expectations by becoming a brilliant standalone experience rather than a stripped-down port. Right from the jump, the vibrant color palette and upbeat soundtrack preserve the exact charm of its iconic home console big brother. The core gameplay loop remains intact. Our star-shaped protagonist utilizes his elastic arms to grapple opponents, scale vertical terrain, and swing across dense creative environments. The control inputs are remarkably responsive for 8-bit hardware, ensuring that momentum and precise jumping never feel compromised. Naturally, certain compromises were made, resulting in the removal of specific zones like the underwater levels and a few unique boss fights from the original edition. However, the developers compensated by introducing exclusive mechanics that gave this portable version its own identity. Players can now weaponize environmental objects dropped by enemies, like throwing spears at opponents or lodging them into walls to build makeshift climbing ledges. These tactical elements elevate the combat and reward clever exploration. Even the final showdown against Greedy features entirely overhauled mechanics that demand a fresh strategy. Classic side-scrolling brawlers often get dragged down by endless waves of repetitive enemies, but Kamen Rider completely breaks that stereotype with its relentless speed. The game constantly shifts you across shifting environments and bite-sized combat zones, rarely letting a single fight drag on for more than 60 seconds. Visually, it stands out as a masterpiece of the 16-bit era. The main hero features highly detailed sprite work and incredibly fluid animations, even if the minor grunts look a bit generic. However, the game compensates for the lack of regular enemy variety with massive, highly imaginative boss encounters that demand your full attention. The mechanical setup is straightforward but highly satisfying. You thin out the crowds with responsive combos while generating power to trigger your armored hero transformation. This power-up is crucial to the gameplay loop, as bosses cannot be finished off in your normal human state. You are forced to execute the transformation to unleash a cinematic, explosive finishing kick that obliterates the target. There are even layers of dialogue choices and basic stat upgrades hidden beneath the surface, though navigating these menus can be tricky without knowing Japanese. Ultimately, its incredible momentum and artistic flair turn a simple concept into an unforgettable retro experience. The 1990s were packed with bizarre mascot concepts, but Rocky Rodent takes the crown by turning a hungry rodent with weaponized hairstyles into a surprisingly fantastic platformer. This absurd premise instantly injects the game with an unforgettable personality. Visually, the world is a vibrant, cartoonish fever dream populated by eccentric enemies, from mice sporting baseball caps to moles in masks. The developers constantly push creative visual concepts, even utilizing impressive hardware techniques like advanced transparency and lighting effects to bring sunset vistas and shadowy environments to life. Accompanying the chaos is a stellar genre-shifting soundtrack that perfectly matches the mood of each area, transitioning smoothly from mellow urban beats to high-energy rock anthems during intense chase sequences. Don't let the goofy art style trick you though. The gameplay delivers a serious challenge. The platforming demands pixel-perfect precision, enemy placement becomes highly aggressive in later zones, and the margin for error is incredibly slim. While Rocky never achieved mainstream stardom alongside the industry giants, its surreal humor, striking aesthetics, and unforgiving difficulty make it a standout relic of the 16-bit era. Often overshadowed by its Super Nintendo counterpart, New Adventure Island for the TurboGrafx-16 is arguably one of the most refined platformers in the entire franchise, returning to the series' hardcore roots. The narrative is pure arcade nonsense. Moments after Master Higgins ties the knot with Tina, a villain named Baron Bronsky crashes the wedding, abducts the bride along with several local children, and flees. Without hesitation, our hero sets off on a massive, multi-island rescue mission. Mechanically, the classic survival formula is back in full force. You must sprint through vibrant, hazard-filled environments while constantly hoarding fruit to keep your depleting hunger meter at bay. The momentum is incredibly fast, especially when you hop onto the iconic skateboard, which drastically ramps up both the speed and the danger. Your arsenal features returning favorites like the throwing axe and the devastating fireball, hidden inside secret eggs and capable of obliterating terrain, alongside new additions like arrows and boomerangs. Visually, the game pushes the hardware with massive sprites, buttery smooth animations, and diverse biomes ranging from slippery ice caverns to fiery volcanic craters, all backed by a brilliant, upbeat soundtrack. But don't let the charming aesthetic fool you. The game is punishingly difficult. With one-hit deaths, aggressive enemy placement, and ruthless late-game bosses, it remains a deceptively brutal and highly addictive 16-bit masterpiece. Serving as a unique stepping stone between old-school puzzle adventures and modern action RPGs, Light Crusader is a fascinating isometric dungeon crawler crafted by the legendary Studio Treasure. You step into the armor of Sir David, a knight dispatched to investigate the sudden eerie disappearances plaguing the village of Green Row. The mystery quickly plunges you into a massive 6-tier subterranean labyrinth packed with lethal traps, shifting platforms, and hidden corridors. What truly sets this title apart is its brilliant and inventive puzzle design. Instead of relying solely on the usual block-shoving mechanics, the game challenges your brain with audio-based memory trials involving giant tuning forks and complex light activation puzzles. Fighting off threats is equally engaging. You slash through monsters with your sword while tapping into a flexible elemental magic system. You can even fuse different elements on the fly, like combining wind and water to unleash devastating ice spells. The underground setting never grows stale because the game constantly alters the theme of the environment, boldly throwing players into surreal time distortion zones inspired by ancient Japan, the Wild West, and even World War II. Supported by atmospheric audio and a diverse bestiary, it stands as one of the most inventive and overlooked hybrids on the 16-bit console. Armored Warriors was one of the coolest arcade beat-em-ups released by Capcom during the 1990s. Launched in 1994 for the CPS-2 arcade hardware, the game mixed fast side-scrolling combat with giant customizable mechs, creating something that still feels unique today. Set in the year 2282, the story follows a military squad sent to the planet Raya after an invasion destroys the capital city of Melkai. While the mission is officially presented as a rescue operation, Earth secretly plans to take control of the planet. It has that classic over-the-top sci-fi action movie vibe that fits perfectly with the non-stop chaos on screen. Players choose between 4 pilots, each using a different mech with unique strengths. Rash controls the balanced Bloodia, Justice focuses on fast close-range attacks, Grey pilots the heavy but powerful Golden, and Siren uses the fastest mech in the game with weaker armor. What really made Armored Warriors stand out was the customization system. Enemies constantly dropped new mech parts that completely changed your abilities. You could equip laser blades, missile launchers, flamethrowers, electric weapons, drills, tank treads, or even scorpion-like legs. Few arcade games from that era offered this much gameplay variety. Despite being a mech game, the action is extremely fast and chaotic. Explosions cover the screen, enemies attack non-stop, and giant bosses keep every stage intense. The sprite work is fantastic, with huge colorful robots and detailed sci-fi environments that still look impressive today. The soundtrack also adds a lot to the Years later, Armored Warriors returned worldwide through the Capcom Beat-em-up bundle for Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and later PC. Alongside classics like Final Fight, Captain Commando, the collection also included original design documents and both the English and Japanese arcade versions of the game. Launching in 1992, just as public attention shifted towards 16-bit heavyweights, Little Samson arrived at the very end of the NES lifecycle and was criminally overlooked. Despite the poor timing, it stands out as an absolute technical marvel for the hardware, delivering remarkably responsive controls, vibrant pixel art, and a driving soundtrack. The main hero navigates levels with a degree of precision and speed that puts most standard 8-bit platformers to shame. But the true brilliance lies in its multi-character mechanics. You can swap instantly between 4 distinct heroes: a wall-crawling human, a fire-breathing dragon capable of hovering, a massive stone golem immune to spike traps, and a fragile mouse that can squeeze through tight gaps and plant explosives. The stage layouts constantly force you to utilize these individual skill sets to bypass deadly hazards, icy fortresses, and shifting platforms. While the difficulty curve ramps up significantly, the challenge always feels balanced and rewarding. The boss encounters are another massive highlight, introducing dark, menacing entities like undead warriors and demonic dragons that contrast heavily with the colorful regular levels. It didn't reinvent the wheel, but it pushed the NES hardware to its absolute limit, securing its place as one of the greatest hidden masterpieces of its generation. Subverting all expectations for a property literally named after motorsport, Wacky Races ignores traditional racing mechanics entirely. Instead, developer Atlas transformed the iconic Hanna-Barbera cartoon into a brilliant side-scrolling platformer starring Muttley, the famously snickering canine sidekick. Apart from brief cinematic interludes and boss encounters, the gameplay mirrors a classic 8-bit platforming adventure. You guide the titular hound through vibrant environments packed with hazardous traps, hostile creatures, and collectible secrets. The game maintains a refreshing pace by shifting themes across multiple distinct zones. As you explore, collecting bones allows you to unlock a progressive ability grid, granting access to explosive bomb attacks or vital health recovery, while hunting for gems rewards you with extra lives. The true appeal lies in its absolute fidelity to the source material. The pixel art is beautifully cartoonish, and watching the show's legendary cast emerge as major boss fights injects immense personality into the journey. While certain levels introduce tricky gimmicks like slippery frozen surfaces or underwater navigation, the overall difficulty remains highly accessible. It stands as a brief, incredibly charming afternoon adventure that serves as a testament to the creative risks of the 8-bit era. Borrowing the aesthetic presentation of a fantasy epic like The Legend of Zelda, Fire Striker immediately subverts expectations by blending top-down action with classic arcade-style brick-breaking mechanics. Instead of a traditional stationary paddle, you guide a knight named Slater across the screen, utilizing his sword to strike a magical orb called the Twilight. Your objective is to keep this sphere in active play, using it to smash through block barricades and defeat hostile creatures scattered throughout the arena. The narrative follows the last Fire Striker on a quest to liberate 4 elemental realms from the corruption of an evil archmage. The true genius of the game lies in its dynamic stage layouts. Rather than offering static puzzle boards, the levels challenge you with distinct terrain hazards, shifting block arrangements, and aggressive enemy placement that forces a balance between reckless offense and careful ball control. The developers also integrated light RPG elements, including health expansions, special power-ups, massive boss encounters, and unlockable companions with distinct attributes. Factor in a chaotic 4-player multiplayer mode via the SNES Multitap, vibrant 16-bit art design, and an upbeat soundtrack, and you get one of the most uniquely forgotten experimental titles in the entire Super Nintendo library. That wraps up our look at 10 forgotten relics from the retro era that absolutely deserve a spot on your emulator or modern setup. Whether they were overshadowed by mainstream juggernauts or simply launched at the wrong time, each of these titles brings something genuinely special to the table. If you enjoyed unearthing these hidden gems with me today, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment down below, letting me know which obscure retro classic needs to be featured in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.